So here's a pretty interesting clip. It looks like, I think it was just Pete Buttigieg and Warren that went to this, although I don't know if Bernie went to this, but it's some event. It's an event, okay, called McIntyre Shaheen 100 Club event. And Pete Buttigieg takes the stage to talk, and he takes a shot at Bernie. And let's see how the crowd responds.
With a president this divisive, we cannot risk dividing Americans' future further. Saying that you must either be for a revolution or you must be for the status quo. Let's start moving for everybody in this movement.
Not just go there.
This is our one shot. Our one chance to defeat Donald Trump. And there is an American majority that is unified not just in who we are against, but in what we are for. Because we are for higher wages and the empowerment of workers. We are for honoring our troops and putting an end to endless war. We are for our teachers and prepared to back them up with a Secretary of Education who believes in public education.
Alright, so you get the point of this video, basically. There's a bunch of boos that pour out after he takes a shot at Bernie Sanders by saying, oh, we're not going to split people who want the status quo and want a revolution. We can all come together. For what are we coming together on? These positions are extremely popular with the people, but just imagine MLK in like the 60s or whatever being like, oh yeah, we're going to come together, we need to, or imagine someone else saying that, to MLK. It's like, oh yeah, we need to bring the white moderates together, the KKK, and we need to bring together all of these people together, because that's what we need. We need to all come together. It's just so fucking stupid. It's incredibly, incredibly vapid. There's nothing there. And he seems to kind of contradict himself within that, because he's talking about the status quo. I don't really know what he's for. It's very confusing, and I find it really hilarious that his bold proposal is a Secretary of Education that is in favor of public schools. Like, wow, dude. Wow, Pete. Your big plan is that? Are you serious? That's how low the bar is right now? Oh my goodness, this is embarrassing. And so, nobody believes anything that he says. And actually, there's another video of this where Medicare for All chants start coming out. And basically, it wasn't even just the Bernie section that was booing him. Warren's section also started booing him. And so if you don't know, it actually turns out that Pete Buttigieg is like Hillary Clinton. He's been able to unify people. So Joe Biden just put out an ad today shitting on Pete. And Bernie supporters, virtually everybody, were like, yeah, Joe, go get him. Like, fuck Pete. So everybody hates Pete Buttigieg because he's fake, he's vapid, he's bought, he's a sociopath. He also has a shady history as mayor of South Bend with black people. And so no one likes the guy. He doesn't stand for anything. And you can't trust the guy on anything. Kind of like Andrew Yang, You don't really know what this guy stands for. He says he's for, ending the wars. Do you really believe Pete fucking Buttigieg is going to end the wars? My ass cheeks. Okay, get that shit out of here, alright? Total, absolute bogus. And, he said he was for Medicare for All like less than a year ago or something like that. And so it's obvious that he's just changing his opinion based on what the donor class is saying, what his donors are saying, what the DNC overlords are saying, what the Democratic Party overlords are saying. And that's why nobody likes this guy. So they start chanting Wall Street Pete, because that's what he is. He's not just a Wall Street Pete. He's everything Pete. He's private health insurance Pete. He's, whatever you want to call it, big pharma Pete, all of that stuff. So I'm glad that we're all able to become unified in our hatred for Pete Buttigieg, similar to how we are with Hillary Clinton, because Pete really is sort of a plague on politics, and he really is a disease that we need to get rid of. He's this sort of bacterial infection that is really, it's a super bug that's really resistant to antibiotics, and so we got to figure out a way to get rid of this shit, because he's a plague on politics. But guy's a big old hypocrite. He doesn't know what he's saying. He just says a bunch of shit that doesn't mean anything. And no, we need a revolution, which the vast majority of people agree with. We're not here for mealy-mouthed centrism, all right? We're not here for that kind of garbage, all right? And also, the big point I want to say is wanting to maintain the status quo is how we got here. So if you anytime you elect a centrist Democrat, what it's going to result in is a fascist Republican. That's what we saw happen twice, happened after, Bill Clinton. And you also got to remember Gore, he chose a big reason why Gore lost, dude. He chose his VP as Joe Lieberman, who's basically a Republican. In fact, Joe Lieberman is the sole reason why we don't have a public option today. So you have him to thank for that, because he pulled out last minute in the Senate from voting in favor of that bill with the public option, all right? So he's solely, responsible for that. So he chose effectively a Republican. That was a big reason why I lost. People are like, yo, fuck you, dude. I'm not voting for Joe Lieberman on the ticket. And so that was a big, big reason that he lost. And so then we saw it with Obama flipping with Hillary and then Hillary losing. And so anytime you have, a race in which there's a mealy-mouthed centrist, it leads to that. And so we have to break the system. The system is working the way it's set up, by the way. It's a rigged system, okay, and we have to break it. And so the only way to break it is to elect Bernie Sanders. And so that's why, for me, I'm not voting for anybody who's not Bernie Sanders, because it's just this dumb cycle that's going to be replaying until you people who, well, you guys understand this, but for the people who don't understand that we need to break the system, you're going to have to figure it out at some point. And if it takes 4 more years of Trump for that, I mean, shit, that's what you're gonna have to deal with. Especially if we're talking about a Pete Buttigieg or a Bloomberg or whoever. Like, what's the massive difference between that? We don't even know what Pete Buttigieg stands for, and Bloomberg is a Republican. So it's just like, it's all a bunch of bogus, man. But Pete is an asshole.